Hi, I'm Lisa from Oxylabs. We all know that large language models have been changing the way we work, search, create, and interact with data. But here's something people don't often talk about. Before an LLM can start answering questions or writing code, it needs to be trained, and that training requires enormous amounts of data. To put things in perspective, OpenAI's GPT-3 was trained on around 570 gigabytes of curated text. That's roughly 300 billion tokens, about as much text as 500 hours of HD video or the contents of over 500,000 books. Google's Chinchilla model, even more ambitious, trained on 1 trillion tokens equal to the text of 1.4 million books. If you stack those books, the pile would dwarf Mount Everest. That's the kind of scale we're dealing with when it comes to fine-tuning LLMs, and getting that much high-quality web data is not easy. In this video, we're going to explore two key things. First, what makes data acquisition for LLM fine-tuning so uniquely challenging? Second, how smart, modern tools can help you tackle those challenges effectively, whether you're a developer, a data scientist, or a business owner trying to make sense of it all. Let's start by digging into the biggest obstacles you'll face when gathering web data at this scale. We've already talked numbers, but let's talk logistics. The more data your models needs, the more stress you place on your scraping infrastructure. You need systems that can crawl millions of pages, handle bandwidth spikes, avoid overloading target sites, and still deliver clean, usable content. Plus, as your fine-tuning goals grow, so does your need for fresh, varied, and ever-expanding data. This isn't just a one-time scrape. You need a pipeline that runs reliably, scales automatically, and keeps pace with your model's appetite. Modern websites implement sophisticated anti-scraping measures. They use things like CAPTCHAs, rate limits, behavior tracking, and even mouse movement detection to block bots. It's also that they can tell when your traffic doesn't look human and shut you out. Many websites also block or throttle IPs that send too many requests too quickly. The more aggressive your scraping strategy, the faster you'll hit those roadblocks. At this scale, every inefficiency adds up. Bandwidth, proxy usage, storage, computation time, it all costs money. If your scrapers are constantly getting blocked, or if you're spending hours reworking scripts for every new site structure, those costs can balloon fast. LLM data acquisition isn't just about volume, it's about value. You need high-quality data without draining your budget. In the early days, scraping was mostly about grabbing data from static HTML pages. Today, websites are dynamic. They load data using JavaScript, APIs, or client-side rendering techniques. That means you can't just view source and copy what you see. You need tools that can render pages like a real browser, and you have to deal with different layouts, structures, and update cycles from one site to the next. Even when you can access content, there's no guarantee it's usable. Web data is often messy. Free-form text, duplicate entries, irrelevant sections, broken formatting. For LLM fine-tuning, that noise can affect performance, bias outcomes, or just waste resources. You'll need a serious pipeline for filtering, cleaning, and structuring your data consistently. And finally, there's the legal side. With data privacy laws like GDPR in place, scraping isn't just a technical challenge, it's a legal one. You need to ensure that you're not collecting personal or sensitive information without proper safeguards. The consequences of non-compliance range from fines to serious reputational damage. So how do you actually overcome all this? Let's walk through the solutions. When you're working with massive amounts of web data, the first thing you need is a scalable infrastructure. This means designing a system that can handle high traffic loads, support parallel processing, and gracefully handle failures or slowdowns. Distributed scraping is key here. Instead of sending all your requests from one location or IP, you distribute them across many nodes, often across different regions, to avoid bottlenecks and reduce the risk of overloading any one target. That's where Datacenter Proxies come in. They're designed to handle high-volume, high-speed scraping without hitting bandwidth caps or slowing down. These proxies support unlimited connections and traffic, and are pre-tested for specific targets and monitored 24/7 for stability. Datacenter proxies in general are also budget-friendly, making them a great fit when you're dealing with large, accessible datasets. Most modern websites have built-in defenses against bots, and they're getting better all the time. To navigate this, you need to make your scraper traffic indistinguishable from real human users. One method is rotating your IP addresses, so no single IP makes too many requests. Another is using techniques like header management and browser fingerprinting, which ensure each request looks like it's coming from a genuine user session. For JavaScript-heavy sites, you'll also need the ability to render pages fully, just like a real browser does. Headless browsers or browser automation frameworks are often used here. They simulate user behavior, load dynamic content, and even execute scripts if necessary. If your scrapers keep getting blocked, Web Unblocker is your friend. It uses dynamic fingerprinting to make your traffic look like a real browser session, down to the right headers, cookies, and rendering behavior, as well as IP rotation and machine learning-driven proxy selection, which speeds all your requests and lowers your risk of getting caught in anti-bot traps. And for those particularly tricky sites, residential proxies can simulate human behavior, helping you bypass even the toughest filters. Fine-tuning an LLM is expensive, no surprise here, but scraping data for it doesn't have to be if you optimize your strategy. Here's the trick: don't use the same tool for every job. Use Datacenter Proxies for the easier targets. Save the more advanced tools for when you really need them. By mixing solutions strategically, you can reduce your overall spend while keeping the data flowing. You can't scrape what you can't see. And with JavaScript rendering on the rise, much of the useful content on the web doesn't even show up in the page's source code anymore. To deal with this, your scraping system has to be smart enough to wait for content to load, execute scripts, and identify what part of the page actually contains the data. This is where OxyCopilot shines. It's an AI assistant that creates scraping code and parsing templates from plain English prompts. It uses large language models to understand HTML structure and generate exactly what you need, even for JavaScript-heavy or frequently changing websites. Bad data leads to bad models, so once you've got your scraped content, your next job is cleaning it. That means filtering out duplicates, removing irrelevant sections, normalizing inconsistent formatting, and identifying anomalies. In many cases, it's not enough to grab a page. You'll need to parse out just the parts you care about: headlines, metadata, timestamps, product specs, etc. Structured data formats like JSON or CSV are your end goal here. Again, OxyCopilot helps here by delivering well-structured, high-quality output based on your exact request. It's not just about scraping, it's about getting usable, clean data that your LLM can learn from. Scraping data comes with real responsibilities, especially when you're working with public websites or user-generated content. Privacy laws like the GDPR mean you have to avoid collecting personally identifiable information, and you need to respect the intent and terms of the sites you're scraping. So, have clear internal policies about what kind of sites and data you're targeting. Do a risk assessment for each new data source. And if you're ever unsure, talk to a legal professional. Responsible scraping isn't just about staying out of the trouble. It's about building trust with your users, your clients, and the broader AI ecosystem. At Oxylabs, data integrity and security are backed in. Larger clients go through KYC checks, and every scraping activity must follow a clear, responsible use policy. Of course, it's always smart to consult your legal team too. But with the right tools and guardrails, you can move forward with confidence. Fine-tuning an LLM with web data isn't just about scraping faster, it's about scraping smarter. From scale to structure, legality to latency, every part of the process matters. But with the right setup, you can build a robust, cost-effective pipeline that feeds your models exactly what they need to grow. If you want to find out more about web data for LLMs, take a look at our description. We have linked an in-depth white paper on acquiring high-quality web data for LLM fine-tuning. Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to take your data acquisition to the next level, we're here to help. If you've got any questions or your own experiences with LLM building challenges, comment below and we'll be sure to check them out. And if you've encountered any problems with our proxies, email support@oxylabs.io or write to us via the live chat on our homepage. Also, consider joining our Discord community where we discuss all things web scraping. Thank you for watching and see you next time.